It's an all-nighter, man, with the podcast. It won't stop. It can't stop. Man, this is the return of Dev and the Gamer. Man, it's been long overdue. You know what I'm saying? Me and Don, we usually are doing it one-on-one, but we added another gaming expert to the scene.
Oh, expert! I like that, man.
I'm sorry. I mean a gamer fraud. No, I'm just playing. No, we're giving another.
He's a passionate casual, right? That's what you guys call it?
Yeah, I mean something like that. You know, a little bit. I mean, he's only plays like just so many games. Just so few mini games. Anyway, yeah, man. It's the Dev and the Gamer. It's back, and we have Xbox 448. Go ahead and introduce yourself. You really don't need any introductions, but just go ahead and do it anyway, bot.
All right, I'm going to do it how I normally do it. Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome to the Dev and the Gamers. Guys, I do want to say, first of all, you know, I'm happy to be here with my brothers, the Don and KMega. And here's something that I have never done before. See, Mega is streaming this live on his channel. And for people who are checking this out, I am also streaming live on my channel. So we're trying to get out there to as many people as possible, because I think this subject about Crackdown, man, it's getting kind of out of control. And who better to talk about this stuff than us three, right, guys?
Yep, exactly. I totally agree, man. This is like the mini next podcast right here. So, you know, let's get it going. And then, of course, the Dev, man. We got our boy Don. The Don, man. It's been a long time coming, man. So what's going on? How you been, brother?
It's been good. You know what's nice about when KMega takes a break? I get to take a break and just kind of work on my craft. And there's controversy when KMega takes a break, and you know, I decided to talk about it. And then next thing you know, it become the nexus of gaming just for a little bit, right? Just for, you know, a couple seconds of fame, right? So. But yeah, we're going to talk about Crackdown. It's one of my favorite games of last gen. I think I'm excited for a true comeback that's not number two. I try to forget about it. It was a bad dream. And I'm thinking Crackdown 3 is going to be what people who are a fan of the original series going forward. But a lot of it's on the graphics side I'm talking about because, well, that's my forte. So.
Right. So yeah, we're gonna get into the discussion. So yeah, man, Crackdown 3, man, this new sensation of wanting to doubt if Crackdown 3 is going to be a good game, or we'll ever talk about the graphics and actually what the gameplay looks like. Because as I played Crackdown 1, I never got a chance to play Crackdown 2, but the game has never been a graphical behemoth. It's never been on that level of a Halo 4 or anything like that. So for people to try to turn into and think about nothing but just how this game looks I think is a little is asinine in my opinion. So we're gonna start off with our guests, man. What's going on with your bot? Give me your explanation on all of this. Do you think that Crackdown 3 has gotten a lot of scrutiny for no apparent reason, or do you think it's justified?
Well, first of all, when people started talking about Crackdown, right? This thing came out by the Rad Brad, which he had some gameplay on, and that's, I guess you could say, as far as right now, that's where the source of this whole bullshit is coming from, right? So what I did on my stream is I decided to grab Rad Brad's gameplay. So I am showing a piece of that right now. I do have it in loop and stuff like that, and dude, to be very honest with you, I have no idea what this drama is about. I think it comes down to something that, you know, Xbox gamers have gotten a little bit used to, and I call it the quantum break effect now, where the gaming media, fanboys on social media and stuff, they try to find the smallest thing to bitch and complain about because a game is either just that damn good or has an innovative quality to it. Because I don't hear a lot of people really talking about the main aspects of this game. I mean, graphically, it's meant to look like a living comic book, but the gameplay wise, when you go into the multiplayer and they're talking about destruction on a level nobody has ever seen in video games before, to the point where you can use the debris as a tool. Like whatever buildings you blow up, you can use the debris as a tool to do whatever you're doing in the game. the size of the map for the single player is twice the size of the original Crackdown map. And it's not even just, you know, going from east to west or north to south, but it's even height and depth. So the tallest building in Crackdown 3 is actually twice as tall as the original Crackdown, and I believe in terms of depth, if you're going down, it can go twice as deep as well. These are huge things. These are things that make this Crackdown a this generation game, and a lot of people are trying to poke at the graphics. I think it's fucking crazy, man. And I'm glad that there's people out there, there's developers like the Don who actually came out with his YouTube video pretty much describing what the graphics are in this game. So I can't wait to get into that as well, and to let, you know, Don kind of tell everybody exactly what this is. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I'm everything. You hit it right. You hit the hammer on the head. You know, did I say that right? No, I don't think I did. It's getting late, and I'm still feeling the vibes of Game of Thrones, man. Game of Thrones left me with my jaw dropped yet again. Love that show.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, man, it's epic, man. It's so epic. But yeah, I totally agree, man. You said everything right. It's confusing to me why the hell people have just want to have such hate towards the Xbox brand of anything. I mean, you want innovation. You say Xbox need more games that's original, or they need to bring back certain sequels. And then when they do these things, it still gets scrutinized. It's absolutely bizarre to me. So Don, what is your take on this? Is all of this hatred warranted, or you on the other side? Do you agree with Bot?
You know what? I mean, here's the thing. People always complain, I want bigger worlds. This game gives it to you, right? I want more destruction. You have more live physics in this game than any other game I've seen. Just in the non-cloud destructive world, right? You know, I'm looking at the gameplay that's on Bot's channel right now, and you know, he just did like this black hole gun where like 20 cars got sucked up, real physics, and then blown back apart. You know, like, you know, physics flipped on its head a little bit, like. And I think what you have is, you know, a fan base that really feels like their backs against the wall. That's why I don't. That's why I don't really provoke them. At least I try not to, for the most part. The best that I know how, but I'm still human, of course, right? And because the reality is, why are you letting people like kind of hate on a game that you're looking forward to? Now, I think Crackdown's not going to be for everybody. As much as I'm a fan of the game and stuff like that, the first one especially, I don't think it's going to be for everyone. I think when you deal with cell shading, it's not for everybody. I think cell shading in particular, you know, it's a particular art direction you're taking a game, right? Crackdown is physically known for that, and there's nothing wrong with them doing what they envision. I think also a lot of the controversy that I've been talking about recently is the in-engine cutscenes that they had, where they decided essentially to use like a different shader. And I gave like a perfect example of just how quick and easy really it is to make those sort of changes from a visual concept design relatively easy. And this game's still a work in progress. And I think one of the other things too people always forget when they want to like dog on any game of visuals before before it comes out, you know, games can actually look better than, you know, versus like when they showed them off versus when they released, and they also can go the other way, right? They can also get a downgrade, right? So, you know, they're kind of living, breathing things, and they're trying to squeeze as much as they can out of a fixed box. And so the important thing is that I looked at, and you know, the controversy and the graphics, because that's what I mostly do, and that's kind of like how I got started doing my own game, is because, you know, I have that graphical ability using programs like 3ds Max, Maya, ZBrush, all that sort of stuff. And, you know, I think I'm a little bit skilled. I don't know if I'm, you know, skilled as the sumo team that's working on Crackdown, but, you know, I got my own skill sets, and I'm okay with the art direction they're going. I really think they also have art assets that are much higher quality than what you're seeing in the game. They can pull from, because that's kind of how game development works. You build the best quality visuals that you can, as far as the model goes, and you scale it down to work within the game engine. and I don't think people realize that.
Guys, Don, Mega, I've watched so much gameplay of Crackdown. Like whatever comes out on YouTube, you guys know I'm pumped for this. I played the first 2 titles, man. I absolutely love this franchise. It's awesome, and to see what they're doing with the multiplayer, absolutely incredible to me. Now, Don, I just want to ask you because I didn't get through your whole video. You dropped it on the same day as Next, and you know me, man. I'm trying to get everything set up and stuff like that. So, in terms of the gameplay that you saw, is this a traditional kind of cell shaded type art style for Crackdown? Basically, what they've been using the past 2 iterations, man.
Well, I want to iterate on something. So, like, people always think that games can't change between like E3 and the official launch. I think I remember the original Crackdown. There was an interview of because they were criticized for the cell shaded back then as well, by media outlets at the time. Not like in the same vein that we see today, but they gave like useful feedback. They said, you know what, the black line around it, it's too distracting. Like the thickness of the black line of the cell shading that we're doing. They said it was a little too bold. And believe it or not, that game got changed at launch. They kind of toned that down a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. I think there is traditional cell shading going on in the main game. I don't think what you're getting out of the in-engine cutscenes. They're choosing to use a different, more stylized shader for that really isn't a true cell shaded look, but it's still kind of in vein of that kind of comic book look, but just incredibly high detail. And if that's how they want to do the story elements, then that's fine too as well. If they want to change the shader on the main game, they can do that as well. It's just really up to them what they want to do. But as of right now, on the gameplay wise, it's more of a traditional cell shaded visuals on what you're playing.
It's funny because Crap has been trying to put some common sense out there on social media, and of course, due to kind of like what he's known for on the other side, the stables and stuff like that. I've been looking through the screenshots that he's been showing. There is a clear difference in the player model, first and foremost, between Crackdown 3 and what people are trying to compare it to the original Crackdown. Not only that, when I'm watching this gameplay here, there's certain things like when explosions blow up, you can see the light reflect off the buildings and stuff like that. This is stuff that we didn't see in the original Crackdown, and I don't believe we even saw it in Crackdown 2. It's incredible that we have all these kind of like armchair developers or these couch tech geniuses that'll point all this other stuff out, but then they don't point out like all the advancements that we have seen in this gameplay as well. Tell me, am I just seeing something totally different than anybody else, or has either one of you guys seen this?
You're paying attention to it, but the thing is, I think sometimes with cell shading, those sort of details don't stand out sometimes to people, because it can be kind of distracting, the particular art style and stuff like that. So, it doesn't quite have the wow factor, I think, with a lot of people, and that's always been with controversy, even since Nintendo did Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, right?
Right. I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, when they made that change, like we didn't have things like Twitter and like that now. That would have basically destroyed that game before it even came out, because people didn't like the change in the art direction that they decided to go. And that's the same thing with, you can say, Borderlands. Some people don't like Borderlands. I get it. But there's some people that simply just don't like Borderlands because of the graphic style. But yeah, you're right. You're seeing more of what I call like next generation cell shading.
Yeah.
Where a lot of times right now you're seeing a lot what I call normal maps. Basically, it's a bump map on steroids. It's what all modern games use. That's why you can see like individual pores on a model's face and all that sort of stuff. That's just a normal map. Is what they refer to that as. And cool thing about cell shading, it doesn't just affect. It affects everything which is considered normal, which is the data that is used to shade a polygon, and it also is applied to what they call a normal map. And so that's why when I showed you that one picture before we did Next, where you're able to see all the detail of the bricks and that.
Dude, I had to ask you. I had to ask you about that picture. I'm like, where did you get that from, dude?
Yeah, yeah, from the city skyline and all that sort of stuff. And that's just them tweaking the shader, right? Like that data was probably already there, but it's just tweaking the shader, tweaking the draw distance, doing all these different things to kind of bring the whole entire game together. So visually, I think this game's going to come together at the very last minute. What the end product is, I don't really care. Where it stands now, I'm excited. I'm ready to play it, right?
Right.
But whatever last minute polish they have, I think it's going to be one of the more visual, unique games out there this generation. I would say even more so than Sunset Overdrive.
Right,
even more colorful, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, because it's going to be on more powerful hardware. Plus, this game is going to be a bigger title in my opinion. I think Sunset Overdrive was a beautiful, colorful game, but it was still almost a launch title, if you would say, because it was coming in their first year.
Well, so confirm it was HDR support, but I would imagine being a first party game, it's probably going to have HDR support as well, and that's something like a colorful game like Sunset Overdrive didn't have that we do have now. So I mean, you're going to see that really shine as well.
Yeah, and that was the one thing that we all came to the agreement that when people have this discussion about Crackdown 3, it's basically it's more rhetoric. You got one side that's saying that it looks like dog shit. You got another side that's defending it, wanting to sound like Xbox, or if some people may want to say it, but or Xbox defenders. It's just that in the scheme of things, when you look at certain games and a developer want to do it in a different type of art style, normally those games don't get this type of this type of rhetoric to where it needs to be hated on. Usually people give these type of games a chance, and if they don't, then it's because of other reasons, other factors. It's because of the fact that the game it doesn't look that good with gameplay wise, or the story doesn't seem to come together, things like that. We still have yet to see the online aspect of it, and I think if people want to judge the game, that should be where people should judge it, is off of the online situation, if it's actually this cloud thing is real or not. And if the story seems like it's going to hold up. I mean, am I missing something here, or what, guys?
You know what's unique about the first Crackdown was how they did the story. It was like, I would call it organized chaos, that game, right? Because you didn't know where the missions were. You didn't know where the crime bosses were. You would just be rolling up in the hood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, the agency would chime in. It's like, you just found such and such crime boss, right? And it'll recommend if you're not powerful enough to tackle it or not, and you can decide to tackle it or decide not to, right? And then it would mark it on the map for you if you decided to walk away and come back, right? And so you would have this thing where if you're playing co-op with like a friend or something like that, and you're getting orbs, driving cars into other cars, have the complete chaos, which is Crackdown, right? And next thing you know, you roll up on a crime boss, is like, I'm going to do this, and then your buddy's just still goofing off in the world, and you're like. And then you're just like, what are you doing? I'm taking out this crime boss. He's like, oh, I'm in, right? And it had this natural ebb and flow between finding the crime bosses in complete chaos and then being drawn back into the crime, where the crime bosses are, and progressing in the story, versus just a bunch of side missions, right? It really did have true like ebb and flow to it. And so a lot of times when people ask me, hey, when people talk about Crackdown, crap or not, they went to E3. I said, hey, does it play down? Is it play like the first Crackdown? Yes or no? That's all my question was, right? Because that's the better Crackdown. He says it plays like Crackdown 1, but better.
All right,
that's all you need to know, right? So.
All right, Mega. Just to let you know, in the chat, Griffin Gaming on this side, he put an at KMega, so I'm gonna let you know what he said. He said basically, if the online is the main marketing factor, they should have shown that right out the gate. He said the story and the single player footage is a terrible selling point. What do you think about that, dude?
I disagree because we discussed that on BGST, and basically it was the thing of where they didn't show You know, people didn't know that they were going to have a story mode. People mostly was thinking that it was just going to be, you know, just running around, shoot stuff. The biggest point that's been sold to everybody is the online factor, right? Mm-hmm. Well, when you add the story mode to it, it just makes that game seem like it's got more depth. And if you have one of these, if you came out with E3, I understand that it didn't seem like it would, you know, you wanted to see some online play, but bringing in the story factor also gives another element to the game for people who are not really, you know, that big into the online. I know that may sound crazy of being an Xbox gamer, but there are people that still enjoy single player games, and the traditional hardcore Crackdown fans, they are used to having a story. So to show the story, I think it was a positive step. But I do agree that we should have seen something. But we still have Gamescom. I can understand if there was no other shows coming, and then we just have to wait to some kind of special event or something like, you know, like they want to show some screenplay on Digital Foundry or some crazy shit like that, or on Xbox ID, whatever the hell that they could do it. But we have Gamescom, and they have known to when they are at Gamescom, Xbox usually show up and show up well. So, you know, give them a chance. Don't give up hope yet. That's all I'm saying, is that if they don't show it then that's when we could start to complain and start worrying about, hey, what's going on? Was this cloud thing, you know, a bunch of hot air or what? And you know what I'm saying, that from Xbox track record, they haven't made too many mistakes, especially when they have been touting something as something as big as this whole destruction thing. I mean, we already get a lot of great destruction with Battlefield and with what DICE does. I know it's possible. It's just the whole thing with everything is destructible. That's the one thing that everybody's waiting to see, and if they do it, it'd be great.
Nice.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, as much as, you know, Phil's ahead of Xbox, this game is Satya's baby. And I know that sounds weird to say for
I can see that
head of Microsoft, but because his cup of tea is cloud-based technology, right? And I guarantee you this is a showpiece game. Now, there's a couple different audiences you have to nail with Crackdown. First and foremost, you have to hit the core audience that loves Crackdown for what Crackdown was, right? That's been clamoring for a good Crackdown game, not the underwhelming version that we got in the sequel, right? So what they showed at E3 was for the guys like me, and you know, I know Bot does like too, but it's also for guys like Bot as well, right? It shows that you still care about that customer base. You're building upon that, right? I do think it was a mistake not to give a little bit of hint of the destruction, just a hint, just part of the demo reel they did on the E3 stage. They should have showed just a reminder of a giant building, like they closed that clip of a giant building falling, just to remind people that's what it is. And then when you go to, you know, when you start talking about the game at E3, we're showing the single player campaign elements of the game right now, and we'll be showing the destruction later. Just lay it out, the expectations for the customers, so they know what to expect, and so they have something to look forward to come Gamescom, right? And I think that's where they had the major misstep is, you know, it's not that showing campaign was bad, it's just they didn't set the expectation up for the customer to know what to expect. And so now you have this conversation, is the cloud real? Is the cloud going to happen at Gamescom?
Well, we already got the demonstration, you know, a couple years back with the cloud. Like, so
I got a demonstration 3 months ago about it. So I'm not worried
Don,
about it.
Are you holding out on us, Don? Like, me and KMega, we want to see this shit, and you're like, well, I saw it.
Well, no, it was at GDC. Like, people don't realize this. Like, this stuff was shown at GDC to developers, and I remember seeing developers coming out of that conference where they were showing how the cloud technology works in Crackdown, and they had, you know, a live demo they were showing there. And I remember seeing developers that they're way more accomplished than I am, right? But their jaws dropped. And then their minds just racing on what they can do with the technology, right? So that's like exciting time in gaming, and we're just not kind of getting it, right? You know, even if you're not a fan of Crackdown, let's say Crackdown's not your game, not your jam, right? You still should be excited for what they're doing on the destructive side of things. And that still needs to be talked about because, you know, regardless of what people think about whatever next generation hardware after the X, and there will be one, of course, right? One of the huge hurdles from physical hardware that we're running into, and it's been a limitation we've been dealing with for a long time, is CPUs are not advancing at the speed that they need to. That is going to be an issue going forward in gaming. Will they get better? Sure, but will they advance at the same level as a GPU? They're not even close. So cloud-based technology in offloading things to the cloud is essential for those CPU tasks that are like a low latency type thing. So, and also essential that I think with creating new types of AI and things like that, that you can be a lot more complex if you wanted to. We're already seeing that in Forza games, right? It's not perfect or anything like that, but there's no racing game, honestly, that races, the cars don't behave like they do in Forza, like they do in any other game, right? And that's always getting better every iteration. So, you know, cloud technologies is essential for gaming going forward. This is a keystone game for gaming, regardless if you're a PlayStation fan or an Xbox fan. That bit of technology was the big disappointment for me at E3. I think not seeing the third-party games support from Sony's side was my big disappointment from them, and my big disappointment from Microsoft is not just getting a little bit of a tease of that the cloud, destruction, because I want to see other people's reactions to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
People that are true gamers, I get excited when you see those sort of things, right? So, I mean, I'm excited for this game, but by all means, and like playing 4-player, like there's nothing like there's games I try to temper my expectations, but this is the one I'm most fired about, and that's even if Scalebound wasn't canceled. This would be the one I'm most excited about, right?
Right.
So, it has everything I'm asking for. It has everything the first Crackdown does on steroids, and then it's going to be giving us a multiplayer that we've never experienced before.
Yeah. And that's huge. That's the thing right there. And then another thing, if with a game that's going to have that type of that type of destructibility around it, is destructibility a word? I have no idea, but I want to run with it. With that much destruction, and if it can maintain the graphics that we're seeing right now, man, that is a masterpiece in itself. It's like what somebody said in the chat over here. They said, look, if this game is anything like GTA with destruction, that's a 10. Can you imagine the things that you could do? You can have customizable characters, and then you could just go and play online, and then you could just blow up everything.
Well, I'm going to make that guy's day. So one of the original creative director of the first one
is on this project.
What was on GTA, right? Started the first Crackdown, and is now on this one. He wasn't there. I don't think he was involved
Jones?
in the sequel.
I
don't know the name, to be honest with you, and I probably should, because I may run into him one of these days down the road. You never know. But I'm not sure exactly who the guy is, but yes, one of the creative directors that's kind of responsible for like the sandbox style of GTA started Crackdown 1.
Yeah, and he's back on this one now.
He's back on this one, so that's why it has that DNA, that feel, to that formula. That's why when I asked everyone, does it play like Crackdown 1? That's the reason why it's there.
Again, that's another thing that I don't understand with all this. I mean, I see what's going on here, but when you have the creative director, from the original Crackdown, which of course has heavy attachment to GTA and what happened with that game. So that was one of the big promotions when Crackdown was first announced, right? All these benefits, you got the multiplayer, which we definitely have to see that at Gamescom. I agree with KMega wholeheartedly. I feel like they should have made that part of the E3 as well. But even if they did that, there would have been more scrutiny. See, my whole thing, the reason why I really wanted to get this out here, because you heard me on Next, I'm like, damn, we're not going to be able to get to this. We got to come up with some type of show afterwards. Is with games like Sunset Overdrive. Now, Sunset Overdrive sold reasonably well. But in my opinion, with everything that was offered in that game, how that game looked, there was only one thing that was a downfall to that, was there was no co-op in the story. Everything else in that game screamed gamer. That game should have sold a shit ton. But of course, people were talking about resolution. And then you have Quantum Break, which had an absolutely awesome story to it, and
very original story.
Another innovative thing where you were playing as the hero, but you had a TV show that showed kind of like the villain side of things. You know what I'm saying? Something that we've never really seen before interlaced within the game. Now that is another innovation. So of course people are like, they took that whole resolution thing over there and basically killed that game. I don't want to see the same thing happen to another Xbox game which has that type of innovation to it. And from what I see people complaining about, it's really unjustified, because as I'm looking at this gameplay right now, when you see the character go underneath the streetlights and stuff like that, the lighting in this game is absolutely incredible. You see the reflection off of his armor, like he really shines up. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about in this. And you know, people just kind of blinded themselves to it, and they're kind of making up shit saying it's Crackdown 1, which absolutely it isn't.
Well, what cracks me up, right? The joke. But but here's what cracks me up, right? People keep saying like cartoony graphics are not demanding. Actually, cell shaded graphics are pretty damn demanding. Most of the time, to get like the cell shading to look right, you have to up the polygon count, because the shader can't hide certain things in the way you make models and stuff like that, right? So in some cases, when you do shaders, you kind of have to up the polygon count. So it's more demanding than people realize when you're talking about shaders. And honestly, a cell shaded graphic is about the same demanding as any other typical shaded graphic, minus say subsurface scattering or some effects like that, right? That are a little bit more demanding. But like shaders that you already typically are used to, or you would brag about on another game, the demand on the GPU is exactly the same in regards to that. And that's something I actually illustrated in the video that I did, right? I basically took a traditional shaded model and turned it into a cell shaded model, what a true cell shaded model looks like, right? And then what I did is I took that same model by adjusting the shader, right? I was able to turn it into what we were seeing in those in-engine cutscenes. They were kind of showing off a little bit at Comic-Con, which was basically it's more like almost kind of like a flat shading to something, with a little bit of subsurface scattering and with basically a black outline to the model, right? So it's not your typical cell shading, what they showed on those cutscenes. So it's just a little bit different how they're doing it. I like the game. Like, I'm so excited about this game. I can't understand why. Well, I can't understand why people are not excited, because cell shading's not for everybody. But
right.
But man, I'm so looking forward to this thing, and I'm looking forward to playing with friends. I'm actually looking forward to playing with gamers, right? That enjoy games, right?
Yes.
And that's what this game is going to scream out. And I think it's one of those games I think people are going to underestimate. Like, people underestimated the first Halo when it first came out, right?
Definitely. I remember that, man.
People underestimated Halo 2's multiplayer when it came out, right? I think this is going to be a situation where you're going to see people with their doubts, rightfully so. As a gamer, you have every right to doubt something if you legitimately don't know, right? But what I encourage gamers to do is, okay, just have an open enough mind just to try it out, see if it's something you may like, right? Because some of the best games that I've played are games that maybe I just didn't really impress me, but I gave them a shot, right? Forza Horizon, was it the last Forza Horizon that came out? I was not interested. Bot knew I wasn't interested, right?
Yeah, and I saw the turnaround, man.
You saw the turnaround, right? Because that's not the mindset I'm in. I'm not in a mindset to hate games, right? Right? And you're in a mindset to hate games, guess what? You're not going to have, it's going to be dry for you, because there's not going to be very many games where you're going to want to have a good time. If you're a gamer and you're at least open to certain things, or try to be open to certain things, and willing to give something a shot, you're going to have a good time. I think it's just one of those things, like, it's going to be one of those shared experiences, both in the campaign and in the multiplayer, like, that there are going to be memorable moments that you just, you'll never have, like, in any other game. That sheer chaosness of what the game is. I just blows my mind why people can't be excited for gaming and pushing gaming forward, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's another thing that people should be looking at as well. And they rather talk about clickbait shit. That's it. No, nothing about the innovation of anything. Like, you want us to look at the visual greatness, or how Horizon Zero Dawn is a new IP, things like that. That's fine, great. We can look at that. But why is it that the cloud has to be fake when you look at commercials and you look at from all different type of business commercials, and they're talking about the cloud, and then like the destructibility just doesn't mean, I said that word again, destruction is not it's not logical, it's not there, but yet we see it with Battlefield, and Battlefield just keeps getting better and better. DICE knows what they're doing with that engine. Matter of fact, when they were talking about this whole Crackdown thing, DICE was really excited about this whole cloud thing and wanted to utilize it. And remember, I don't know if you guys remember reading that article. We talked about it on the podcast, about a year ago. But that right there, if other people, other YouTubers, if they keep on bringing up the negative, the only people that you can really listen to is the developers. And that's really crazy. People say you can't trust the developers now, but you can't trust some YouTubers, and you damn sure can't trust the gaming media, because those guys is all about the clicks themselves. So I mean, you gotta just hope that some people that you listen to is going to try to guide you in the right direction and let you know that, hey, look, man, this is something to keep your eyes on for. This might not be the thing for you, that this might not be the number one game for you, but if you see this in action, and if everything they said is going to happen, then right there, that's a crazy feat. You know what I'm saying? Because it's never been done in gaming before. So I got
you, man. See, my whole thing is, like, I'm looking forward to what they're saying this game is. All right, I saw the demo a couple years back when it came to the destruction. They showed how the servers spun up. They showed how the buildings dropped down. Not only that, I don't think a lot of people realize, a couple years ago, they even said how much more there was to do in a city like that, because a lot of times when you build buildings, right, you don't necessarily have to build the inside of the building, because if the building isn't going to get a hole blown in it, or the windows aren't going to smash, there's no real way for the player to get inside. Like, you don't have to build the inside of it, right? But with this Crackdown and the destruction that they're talking about, that means that they have to go in, and every single floor of every single building has to be developed. It has to be able to be walked on. It has to be, decorated and everything like that. See, that's where a lot of this stuff absolutely blows my mind. Like, they would do that.
You're still missing a key component. They actually have to take it and make it from an architect standpoint, make it architecturally sound, like a real building is, right? So they can't just weld a vertice to another vertice, and if people don't know what that is the point of the polygons where they meet, right? And how you can weld and make it one mesh. It's not about that. It's about actually applying physics to every single attribute of that model. And so that's why when it blows to a point where where that model is about to fail, right, or that structure is about to fall, right, that's the reason why that's all possible. You're basically engineering a city in the multiplayer. Like, let's forget about the cloud destruction and all that sort of stuff. Just look at the development team behind that. That hasn't been done in a game ever. That's the first time it's ever even been prototyped, let alone being done in a game they're gonna be releasing. If they don't release that, like at Gamescom, I'm gonna be a little frustrated. I'm gonna be a little upset myself, to be honest with you. I think that's essential for making this game, to bring new players into Crackdown, where Crackdown can stand on its own versus people bought it because of Halo 3 demo. So
nice, nice. I do want to say, Griffin Gaming in the chat over here has been on fire. He's been, lighting up the chat. One of the things he said is, Crackdown is a casualty of the weak marketing we have seen over the past year from Microsoft. Aaron Greenberg needs to stop wasting money on stupid marketing gimmicks like Run the Jewels for Gears of War 4. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. You know what I'm saying? I know that there's quite a few Xbox people that go after Greenberg and go after Sharon or Shannon, that's her name. Loftus, I think that's her last name. But but the thing of it is that it's a deeper rooted thing than that. I think the one factor that I agree with so many people about is that Xbox is held themselves back from advertising, and my excuse for it was always because they wanted to bring out this this console, and they wanted to show what this console can do. Now, of course, we were talking about that early on BGST about the the FCC. So now that's up and that's lifted. Now we're going to start seeing what they can do to advertise. When somebody was bringing up the fact of that they went and they seen on their kiosks, on an Xbox kiosk at a Best Buy or something like that, they were still showing Forza Horizon 2, which is absolutely ridiculous. You need to be showing your latest games, even if that's Halo Wars 2, and that may not be a popular game for a lot of people, but you still need to have it out there. Yeah, you still need to have it up there so people to see. So they have to address that. If they don't, then it is, it's just like somebody in the chat over here, they were saying that it was that Gauntlet. He's saying, it's dead on arrival. He's like, basically, I guess, Randolph Thor made a video and basically, I guess, was dogging the game. I have no idea. You know what I'm saying? I haven't watched the video, but that's Randolph Thor's opinion. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's
all right. I'm going to tell Rand that they're going to come out with some Barbie DLC for Crackdown, and he's going to be right back in there, yeah.
And you got to understand, Rand is not a AAA gaming type of guy. He loves indies. He's more prone to go to indies. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like what Don said. Some games are not for everybody. I mean, when you listen to other people, they may say, like I'm into Japanese games, and then other people, aren't so much into Japanese games. Doesn't mean that they hate them. It's just to me that this is just not their cup of tea.
Yeah, and, like I use Last of Us as a good, obviously a very beloved game. I would never say that game's crap or anything like that.
I don't like it.
I don't enjoy the game though, right? And I know that's not a very popular thought, but I don't ever want my opinion to get in the way of somebody else that may enjoy that game, right? Like that's not what I'm here to do, right? And I think a true gamer is not. It doesn't have that spirit to try to really ruin a game for somebody else, but. Back to like question about marketing and what.
Well, yeah, that's what I was. That's what
I was talking about. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think we're in a different space than we were last gen, and this is gonna come off like I'm just controlling.
Oh, the Don damage control. Let's hear it, man.
But I'm gonna give you like a harsh reality, right? The world has changed since last gen, completely changed, right? And when you're trying to reach out to customers, right? Those customers are not just watching television anymore or listening to radio, traditional media, right? They're on Twitter, they're on some whatever social application. They're scattered everywhere. They're on YouTube probably more than they are on cable television, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're in this weird space, right? Where I think Microsoft does a really good job of casting a really big net for their marketing. Does that make sense?
Sure.
From a social media aspect, and I think that's from that grassroots marketing. That's essentially what that's doing, and that's, believe it or not, that's how Apple got themselves out of the red themselves and become the cult following they are today, right?
All right, but hold on, real quick, hold on, one second, hold on. I just want to say, with Apple does not have to deal with the stigma that divisions of Microsoft have to deal with. It is incredibly popular.
They did at one time, but it doesn't look at like that right now, right? So when they were basically about to go under, and the only way they were able to stay in business is give away their computers to schools, because that's realistically how they stayed afloat for like 6 or 7 years, right? You know, they did a grassroots marketing campaign where they actually were on forums or involved on all that sort of stuff. And that's how they're able to do it, because they didn't have any, well, their budget was nothing, right? So that's the only thing they really could do. So it can be extremely effective. But here's the problem with that type of marketing. It doesn't leave a lasting impression on your audience.
Not only that, but with doing it that way, with going in and doing it as a social media type thing, social media is meant to bring people closer to the corporations, or bringing that bar up closer to them. So when you decide that that's all you're going to do, you're actually giving the trolls and the haters, the ones that don't like anything that you're saying, you're actually giving them more power and more control over your words. Do you see what I'm saying?
To some degree, I 100% agree with that. But where I'm kind of going with it is the biggest issue, you always see these weird ebb and flows with people like Microsoft products, right? You see them, like, they're all just high and they're all hyped and they're ready to go, right? Because Microsoft's showed them some amazing or whatever, right? And then a little time goes by and they lose faith, right? That's I mean, we've seen a whole generation, right? And I'm not pointing names at a particular fan base or not. Like, as customers, I get where they're coming from on that, right? So the problem is when you only are grabbing the attention of a customer for 2 or 3 seconds, right? You can't expect the lasting impression of that to stick with that customer base. So I'm a really strong believer, yes, do the guerrilla marketing. I think that's a big part of it, right? But you also have to do what I would say is blitz campaigning on more of the traditional media side, so you actually have a commercial you don't skip past, right? YouTube, you have 3 seconds to catch someone's attention on a commercial, right? And if you don't catch their attention, guess what? They skip your commercial to watch a trailer of a movie, which is a commercial, right? Like, that's what people are doing. So what I'm trying to say, there is a place out there for, I would say, traditional media, and finding that balance is, I think, what Microsoft's having problems with. At the end of the day, will they have to open their checkbook a little bit more to probably accomplish that? I think so. But that is one of the things. Now, one of the other things they had a problem with, I think they took care of, and it's just more of sticking to their guns on this. Don't show games so far out. You're putting yourself vulnerable to scrutiny when you do that, no matter what you do. Because guess what?
I think they need to, when it comes to E3 and stuff like that. I mean, I applaud Phil for trying to do all this and saying we're only going to show within the year. And I mean, this past E3, 42 games, that's nothing to laugh at. That's nothing to turn your nose up to or anything like that. But I still feel there needs to be some type of tease. There needs to be some little, dance play there for what's coming beyond that year. You know what I'm saying?
There has to be a level of what's the word I'm trying to find? It needs to be a level of being calm, of just being patient. That's what I'm trying to find. Gamers need to be more patient, because look, let the PlayStation fans say what they want about these games this year, the beginning of this year, which were 90% delayed. They had to be patient. They talked about these games for years. So we're at a down period for not having a slew of AAA games coming out this year. That's fine, because we're having hardware. And so as long as we have games coming, and the games that we have still now, they're they're still playable. They don't die. You know what I'm saying? When you go in there, you play Forza, you play Gears, Halo. Even if you go back and play Record, it's not easy to go through and play 8 to 10 hours, and then the game is done. These games have a lot of longevity. So the thing of it is that Microsoft definitely needs to work on their marketing. They have to be better with that, and hopefully. Now, since the FCC is granted them all the things they need to do so they can advertise, let it rip. Let it rip. Start letting it rip as soon as possible. Don't hold back.
But here's the thing I think a lot of people are missing, and this is a difference.
Open the checkbook.
The climate that we're in right now, right? Long-term marketing simply doesn't work for Microsoft, right? Sooner you put something out, further out than when it's coming out, right? That longer you have an audience to pick it apart, right?
Yeah, the scale-bound effect. The scale-bound effect.
Yeah, so the only chance you have is things get canceled, those don't become public. You know, when you have something good, you obviously follow through with that game, right? You make that message clear. You do expand on what avenues you market that game in, right? But you do more what I would call blitz style marketing. It's a little bit more affordable, but it prevents people from being able to kind of tear it apart. You have that initial hype of people didn't really even know about something, and then all of a sudden you're like, look at this shit. And then people get excited, people get hyped, you get that upward swell of something, right? And go from there. Now, the perfect example of this, I'm going to point this out. You're going to love this spot. Fortnite.
Ooh. Right? I was just watching videos of that just now.
We knew about Fortnite a while ago, but we all forgot about it, right? We thought it was over with. We all thought it was, most of the community, right, thought that game was gone, right? And here comes Fortnite out of nowhere as far as the majority of the gaming public was concerned. I knew about it, but as far as the majority of the gaming public was concerned, they just all of a sudden hear about it at E3, and all of a sudden it's coming out this summer, and people are playing and say, this game's amazing, right? But that game could have been ripped apart. It's like a tower defense game. It's cartoony. It has all the elements that, you know what I mean, people would criticize Crackdown about, right? But that Blitz campaign, when people get their hands on it and they don't have the means to tear apart that game or, you know, and just try it out, that works. So I think that's essential for Microsoft is, you know, not the long, you know, you have a long game, but you don't show that hand until the end. And that transition is kind of here. Like, to be honest with you, all the big games, if you're a Microsoft fan, this is going a little off topic from Crackdown, but if you're a Microsoft fan, all the big games that you're going to have are leading up between now and E3. Your plate is full at the end of the day. You know, your plate is full as far as content is concerned. And matter of fact, in the areas where Microsoft got criticized in the past, because they got criticized for not opening anything up around the first of the year, right? And so they'll have Sea of Thieves that covers that gap, and you know, and then they'll have Crackdown, and they'll have Forza obviously for the end of the calendar year now, right? So they're not going to have that void that's there. And then what's going to happen when coming E3? You're going to see new games, right? They're going to be released in that year, right? So you get that excitement. So that churn of the corners kind of already happened at this last E3. People just don't realize it, right? And it's going to start gaining momentum. So I'm a big fan of them holding off, and I know it's maybe not necessarily a popular idea, but marketing has changed, and you have to read the temperature in the room, and you realize there are people that hate your brand just because your name, Microsoft, and so what you're doing is you're taking away the ammo away from them, and you're just creating those upswells for people that really do enjoy your product, and hopefully that spills over into other people. Is kind of the idea. So I think the whole holding off on not telling stuff, I don't think that's just a Phil Spencer thing. I think that's a Phil Spencer thing. That's an Aaron Greenberg thing. I think that's even a first-party development thing. I think they're all on board on that because they saw what happens if you announce your stuff early on and what happens and how it gets scrutinized as far as that goes.
Yeah, well, not for anything, but when it comes to the Xbox brand, and you guys know, I own multiple consoles. I play the exclusives on both sides. All right, what you said before with The Last of Us, I don't like that game, but you don't see me going across social media like every single day on the main reasons why I hate that game. I just don't talk about it. Like me per se on the PS4, I'd rather play Resogun than play The Last of Us, and that's my whole thing. But when it comes to Xbox, man, it's popular for it to be hated on, and they're going to get criticized whether they do or whether they don't, which is why I've been saying for the last couple of days, like, I know they listen to, consumer feedback, to gamer feedback and stuff like that, but there's got to be a certain point, a certain time where you have a certain direction for your product, and it's good to listen to what's going on, the positive, the negative, and stuff like that, but sometimes you gotta be stubborn and say, no, this is the way we're going, and eventually people are gonna kind of fall in line with that. If what you're offering, because Microsoft, they're known for seeing the future before other people do. You know what I'm saying? And there's some points in time where you can't really just kind of go consumer feedback all the time, because there are haters, there are trolls that are also taking part in all that stuff, and you're gonna get kind of like a mixed answer, and a lot of times, you know, they're picking things that once it's done, they're like, well, a bunch of people is like, well, I know I said that, but not like that. I don't want that, and stuff like that. So it's got to be really hard to kind of, like, I know Microsoft is profitable and everything, but when it comes to the Xbox division, other divisions that are under the Microsoft umbrella, just for the stigma of that name Microsoft, you guys gotta admit, it's gotta be really hard to work in those divisions, man, having to deal with that on a daily basis as well, yeah.
Well, just think about the whole Microsoft company. I mean, in the 90s and early 2000s, it was one of the most hated companies ever. You know what I'm saying? They hated Microsoft, and you know, it seemed like Microsoft, it took a while for them to get out of that hole. And now you got, like, you know, EA and Activision and stuff like that just getting you know, criticized for being you know, one of the worst companies, which I agree Activision is pretty bad. But, you know, they know how to make profit, you know, and they stick to their guns, they don't change. Sony, they stick to their guns, they don't change. Nintendo, stick to their guns, they don't change. Microsoft has listened to the people, like you said, and it's now they got to get to the point to right now. It's like, okay, we listened to you for the first time. We can't listen to you this time because we're still working on what you asked for us the first time. So you want us to stay home, put our money and invest into AAA Xbox exclusives, then that's what we're going to do. We're not going to spend a whole bunch of money on marketing. You know, it's, you know what I'm saying? I think once the AAAs come, then they'll start refocusing on the marketing. But you can't. But you know what I'm saying? I know Microsoft got deep pockets, but if they're under budget, you know, you know what I'm saying? They, you know what I'm saying? You know, they can do both. But if they're really going to bring in the games like they have said that they're going to bring, then yeah, you know, put all the money into the exclusives first, then work on the marketing deals. Because that's, to me, I think that's the smarter choice. Stay home, get that going, but advertise. Find what you need to do to advertise. If it's, you know, if it's doing it on YouTube, you got commercials on. You bring out commercials on big events. You don't have to do it on every television show, but you can do it on big shows and on crazy, you know, sporting events, things like that. So you can get people out there to start seeing it. Plus, at every GameStop, Best Buy, Walmart, show those kiosks with those new freaking games.
Hell yeah, man.
But wouldn't you agree, though, the problem is they're not leaving a lasting impression with their marketing?
No, they're not.
The games that are, you know, I can think about that has, like, really lasting impression. I always think about the trailer for the last Forza Horizon, right? That trailer was epic. You can't, like, look at that trailer and not get chills. And you don't have to be like a car guy, right? If you're a fan of gaming just in general, you get the chills when you watch it, and it was good. It was simple. It was nothing crazy, right? But just showing the natural beauty of the game with a good soundtrack. But the soundtrack engaged you immediately. The visual, the very first visual, first couple seconds, engaged you, right? And that's where they're missing the boat, is we're engaging that customer and leaving a lasting impression. I mean, you feel like even Halo 5's marketing campaign.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Great campaign.
And then they screwed it up, man.
But it didn't match the game, and that was the fail, right? So, you know, there's another area. There's a lesson to be learned there, right?
People were pumped after the Hunt the Truth and everything like that. That whole campaign, people were pumped, and the campaign, the advertising did not match the game, you know?
No. So you have to capture the element of what is that game, right? In that time frame. So it's not only leaving a lasting impression, but leaving a lasting impression that will set an expectation for that customer. So when you spend all that money and that customer buys that product and it's a good game, right, but it matches the expectation they have, then that conversation continues on. But the problem with Halo, right, regardless, you know, if you love or hate the game, you're expecting one thing and you got something else. It's like when you wake up in the middle of the night and you think you're going to drink a thing of OJ from the fridge and you realize it was a gallon of milk. it just tastes awful, right? You know what I mean? And that's what you have going on here. So you have to have that, meet that expectation of that customer with your commercial and capture that element of that commercial. I'm not saying it's easy to do, but that's where I see the biggest improvement can be done.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slight tweak to what they're doing, but that's what they need to be doing in order to get that to go in their favor, I should say.
I got you, guys. If you don't mind, I just want to address a couple things in the chat. First of all, and there's two of them. All right. First of all, Top Dog basically said Microsoft should have stayed on PC where their roots are. Now, this is what I want to say, and I hope this guy has a stable mindset and a stable mentality to register this. Do you not realize what Microsoft brought to the table when it came to console gaming? All right. Xbox Live, you know, the online multiplayer. There was a bunch of innovation that came from Microsoft, that came from Xbox, that not for anything even Sony is trying to utilize now. All right, they brought it out there, and then a lot of companies tried to follow suit. Nintendo is just starting to put their party chat in the Switch this generation, and a lot of that falls back on Xbox. Now, another one, where, oh man, I actually lost it. Damn.
I'll help you out. I mean, I'll help you out. Xbox has been innovating from the very beginning that they've got into the video game market. I mean, if you want to look at the hard drive, they're the first ones to put a hard drive into a console. You know, they were the first ones to actually change their interface. You know, that tripped me out the first time I seen them do it on the 360. Like, what the hell? They were the first ones to add, like, you know, you could play your music on a game. You know what I'm saying? And that was like wild. I know that you could play a CD on your PlayStation.
I used to do that with GTA, the over-the-head GTA. I used to put in a CD and play the game.
Yeah, but you can download your games into your your music into your hard drive, and and in certain games would allow you to play the music on them. And that, like, you know what I'm saying, Xbox has been doing so many innovative things, especially with the 360, you know, that I wish that the X1 would bring back. Yeah. Like, where, you know, if they're bringing back these avatars, these cool looking avatars and everything, and they're going to bring up this this community, this like avatar community, then bring back where you can watch movies and shows together. You know, maybe, you know, people are really creative with Upload Studios or something like that. If they could try to mix something with Upload Studio to where they could do a podcast using their avatars, that would be dope. Like, you know what I'm saying?
The face would animate with whatever you were speaking.
Right.
Sort of thing is what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
That would be cool.
That would be so cool. Like,
they stream it live right on Mixer if they wanted to.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and it could be a Mixer event, and that type of thing right there. Like, Xbox provides a lot of cool things. Look, PlayStation SharePlay is very innovative. That's an awesome thing that you should just record and you can just take it straight to YouTube or to wherever.
Share Factory.
Or whatever. Yeah, Fear Factory. Well, yeah.
Share Play is where you can, like, if your friend is online, you can actually give them the controller and let them play for like a half hour or so of
okay, I got it mixed up. My bad.
Virtual couch co-op is the idea.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But just the fact that you could do that, you know, and stream it there, it's a lot more. It's easier. It's not as crazy as how you do it through the Xbox, and I hope the Xbox can change that. But still, like, the innovation, the things that Xbox has done for video games, they are pioneers for a lot of this, and that's the thing that I'm not understanding, why people are not giving them the credit that's due.
Well, I'll do you guys one better, right? So, believe it or not, you know, the tools that were used for developing PlayStation games before there was even an Xbox is called a PC, which was called Windows. And every technology that was in those boxes that was driven by Microsoft. And then it was ported over to other hardware. So a lot of tools, they've been involved in the game longer than people realize and been behind the scenes, and have been making gaming better since the beginning of 3D. You know, you can fundamentally argue. I mean, it goes prior to that, but really since the beginning of 3D, they've been heavily evolved.
Wow. Wow, see that's cool, and that's one of the things, man. Why I love hearing kind of like a developer's perspective on this, because this is stuff that, you know, people who do the research and look into it will probably find as well. But to you, this is just like everyday thing, because this is the industry that you're in, that you want to stay in, that you want to kind of root yourself in for your career and such, man. So that is awesome, dude.
Well, yeah, and then that's, I mean, people ask you, like, you know, if they ever ask why I'm an, you know, Microsoft fan, and, you know, I'm a Microsoft fan before I'm an Xbox fan, is because my background in development and getting my start and utilizing the tools that are necessary. I mean, you know, I was able to run 3ds Max on a Apple device, Apple computer, but, you know, that computer would always burn out and it wouldn't hold up. So I had to build up my own PC. I had both an Apple and your standard Windows PC, and, you know, I was able to build my own PC, and that was the thing that was able to build a machine that allowed me to propel myself to where I'm at today. So I have huge ties to Microsoft, and I will always be grateful to those tools, and which allowed me to get where I'm at today. You know, you always, you know, show homage to what's enabled you to accomplish things in life. And, you know, Microsoft is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
You know, regardless if, you know, if they make mistakes in the future or not, I always remember what they did for me back then. You know, unintentionally, they're just making a product, but it made the world a difference. So.
Right. And okay, somebody on the chat here, I know it's just troll talk, but it resonates with a lot of Xbox people, because, you know, here they go. Microsoft needs more studios than 343 and Turn 10. Well, they do have more studios than 343 and Turn 10. They got they got the Coalition, they got Rare, they have they got others as well. I can't think of all of them. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, when you try to compare it to Sony's developers, well, Santa Monica and Naughty Dog has been there from the very beginning. They've been with Sony, and they've been in working on games since the late 80s. So, I mean, come on, man. And that's really, I think, the only thing that they're really basing on, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people can't tell you every developer that every studio that Sony has. You know what I'm saying? Because most of these people that they'll start talking about actual games that's exclusive on PlayStation, they're mostly third party. You know what I'm saying? But they want to include them as though Sony owns that studio as well, which is completely laughable. And
they have brand recognition with that.
Right.
Well,
right.
Another thing, and I'm pretty sure whoever wrote that comment isn't going to understand this, but when Phil Spencer and Xbox decided that they were, you know, going away from the third party and really focusing on the first party, and basically what they're doing is, I mean, they want to be competitive, but they're trying to really solidify the infrastructure and the gamers on the Xbox. Whether it's 30 million or 120 million. They want to show that they are dedicated to these gamers, because a lot of the gamers, you know, at the launch of this system felt like Microsoft was trying to abandon them, right? Mm-hmm. So when Phil and Xbox decided that they were going to focus more on first party, in-house, and stuff like that, and I believe Don can definitely attest to this as well, games take time to develop as well. Right. So I think they put stuff into motion. You're looking at least at a 3-year development cycle. So, right now is kind of like we're at the end of that transition point. And I feel like next E3 you're going to hear a bunch of new stuff. I mean, this E3 we heard about 42 games, 22 being some type of exclusivity to the Xbox platform, which is nothing to kind of like sneeze at, and people still want to say like no games and stuff like that. Oh, they need more first party studios. I think there's a lot going on behind closed doors that we're going to see in the near future, because I think we're coming close to the end of that transition period where they stopped doing those deals with Call of Duty, FIFA, and stuff like that. And we're going to start to see that the money was put in to first party titles by first party studios, and a lot of the studios, I think we're going to be like, oh shit, what studio, where did that come from? I never heard of that before, because it's a brand new first-party studio with Microsoft. Yeah,
it's about making that splash and making that impact when you do announce something new, right? And that's the thing. I'm gonna hold to my guns on that. Like, blitz campaigning is essential. That long game is not going to work for Microsoft. And yes, people are going to hate no matter what platform it is or anything like that. But they read the temperature in the room, and they realized that longer time you give the anti-fans, is what I call them, right, of your platform, the longer they get to pick at it, the longer they can kind of control this narrative, right? If you have a blitz campaign, you control the narrative for that short period of time until you get the game into the gamers' hands. Then you got the gamers in the true gamers' hands. Then people can smell the bullshit versus the reality. That's kind of the idea. And so I'm sticking with that, but that's kind of my take. I'm talking to Loop on that one, but that I think that's essential. They'll get there, and like this is all part of the plan. And you have a roadmap, and you got to follow it. And it may not work out for them. They may be completely wrong, but sometimes you have to let the plan play out and see if it doesn't work before you say it doesn't, right?
Yeah, this generation, man, people have on both sides of the table. Like I want to really put it out there that we started talking about Crackdown and everything, Microsoft, Xbox, and stuff like that. But you got to see it. This generation, both sides of the table, whether you're a PlayStation fan or you're an Xbox fan, people have jumped the gun so much with shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, I understand that as you go into the future, that especially on the East Coast, time flies by over here because I'm closer to New York City, and it's that mentality. Like, what have you done for me lately? And by lately, we mean within the past 30 seconds. You know what I'm saying? But damn, people have jumped the gun and just jumped on everything so almost prematurely that it's been crazy this generation, man.
It has. It's really odd. Look, the Crump side is basically taking over YouTube, or the TMZ style of news and things like that, because it's what's got people's attention. People are more interested in drama than they are listening to the facts.
That's
what I'm saying? And that's the sad case that we're in right now. If you really look at it, they're not YouTubers that's been in the game and that's really highly successful, the older YouTubers that started out like 8, 9, 10 years ago, they're not around anymore. They gave it up because they started seeing this change of where I could show gameplay and I could get a whole bunch of likes, or people talk about, oh, I remember this game, I remember that, or yeah, that game looks cool. So many people are afraid to address and say, hey, look, I don't mind looking at Next Machina. That's a dope-ass game. That's cool. If I didn't know the name, what's the name of that? What system is it on? You don't get that no more. If somebody's had PlayStation 4 gameplay or Xbox gameplay or whatever, Nintendo, you got to be a Nintendo weirdo or some kind of crazy shit like that, man. It's like, man, look, we're in a situation where people aren't, that they don't want to express their love for gaming. They rather express drama. So they could get a rise out of that. I'm just going to read one thing that was said on here, and it was basically the same thing that we've always heard. I'm tired of Halo, Gears, and Forza. Well, you know what? If that's how you feel, I hope you're tired of God of War, Gran Turismo, Uncharted, Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter. Well, what's the Mega, Crash Bandicoot?
Yeah, but Mega, here's the deal, man. He could be tired of that. That's all well and good, but when it comes to titles like Halo, obviously a lot of people aren't tired of it. Within the first 3 months of that game, it sold over 5 million copies. To this day, that game still sells. You know what I'm saying? So unfortunately, I understand with you and your opinion, whoever wrote that comment, you're tired of that. I got you, but guess what, guys? Those titles are still popular. They still sell. They're still bringing something to the table in terms of the gaming industry. And there are gamers out there, a lot of gamers, who enjoy those franchises. So guess what? They're not going anywhere. But I hope if you were tired, hold on. I hope if you were tired of those, I hope you picked up Sunset Overdrive. I hope you picked up Rise, Son of Rome. I hope you picked up all those other exclusives and new IPs that came out. And I hope
too.
And I hope you enjoyed some of them, you know?
Yeah.
But the thing people don't realize when they make those arguments, right? They're self-sustaining businesses, right? They pay for themselves now, right? They don't have to, you know what I mean? The marketing pays for themselves. The game development pays for themselves from the previous game, right? They're self-sustaining. So they're going to continue to make games that are self-sustaining. That's how franchises work, right? And if you get tired of it, that's fine. Move on. There's no big deal. And when the title stops being self-sustaining, they'll stop making it. Then maybe they'll take that money into somewhere else. But the thing is, they're still investing in other franchises. We're talking about Crackdown. It's another franchise. As a matter of fact, it was a franchise that didn't do very well on the second one at all. To be honest with you, and we're getting a third, right? They're taking risk on the gamers. They're doubling down on the gamers still. And I don't think people, some people just don't want to see that, but it's there. It's right in front of you. If you want to play it, it's there. I don't know what else to tell people like that. I'm not getting a check from any of that sort of stuff. I would rather have them invest in what I'm working on, right? But at the end of the day, if a franchise has gotten to a point where it's self-sustaining, right? It's not hurting you, right? It's not hurting you in any sort of way. It's not preventing you from getting the games that maybe you're asking for. It's its own little thing, and it's its own little world. So and if you don't buy new franchises, because a lot of times I hear those arguments, but I also hear the same arguments that were like, well, I don't want to give this a shot. I don't want to try this. This doesn't have iron sights. I'm like, well, okay, do you want every game to be exactly the same and borrow from just this one game? Or do you want your games to be different? And I mean, I think that circles back down to the visual style of Crackdown. I like Crackdown because I don't want every single damn game to look exactly the same.
Thank you.
Use the exact same template. I want a new experience that's immersive, that's different in regards to that. And so, its cel-shaded style totally different than what you see, say, from Borderlands. I like them both, right? For their own merit and what they are. And I also like, hyper realistic worlds as well. That's kind of what I primarily work in, is more in the hyper realistic worlds. But you just don't want every game to look the same. You want games to have their identity and stand out in their own way. I mean, at least I do. I don't know if I speak.
Dude, look at the games I've been playing, man. You talk about I like a variety, especially aesthetically, especially visually. Yeah. I've been playing Human Fall Flat. I've been playing Overwatch, Fortnite. All right, go back to Halo. Play a little bit of Forza. There's so many different art styles that I've played in rotation. I would hate to see every single game, like you said, use iron sights and stuff like that. You got to have a mix-up. You got to have originality. You got to have variation. Otherwise, man, what are we doing? We just might as all of us just buy Call of Duty every single year, and that's the only game we play. And hell no, I ain't doing that shit.
Hashtag be brave. Be brave. You don't have to do the same thing on every single game. You don't have to plug in the same thing. You don't have the same visuals. Be brave. And I would say this too. If developers are taking the risk of making a franchise that's different than the norm, right? And it looks fun. I'm not saying buy every new risk that's out there, but give it a shot.
Yeah.
I hope they have a demo for Crackdown, on release, possibly.
They need one. They need one.
And I hope it has a little bit of the story, and I hope they give a little bit of the multiplayer as well when it comes to the demo, and really let people get their hands on it. Because anybody who I've talked to who was at E3 and who played the demo of this and stuff like that absolutely loves this game. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's just another one of those things until you get that controller in your hands. See, I can see through that. Don, I told you what I saw in the gameplay that's playing on my channel, man. When I saw, the advanced lighting, when I see kind of the detail on the main character in front of me, when I look at the skybox and how the skybox changes going into nighttime, going into morning and stuff like that. There's a lot of really, really beautiful things to see in this. And like you said, they can add even more polish because the game comes out in so many months from now. Like I see all the goodness here, and I see that a lot of people, again, when it comes to this generation, are just jumping the gun and being very premature on what they've seen from this game already.
Yeah, let me address something again. I had to address it on BGST and address it again. Okay, look, I didn't make this icon picture. There was, you know what I'm saying? There was a PlayStation person that made that picture. I'm just trolling them and just putting it on there. I'm just going to put it on for a week and have a good time. I didn't ask nobody to make this. If you want to go after somebody and call them gay or whatever, I don't think anybody's gay or nothing. Yeah, somebody's over here calling me gay and shit because of my other pics. I you know what I'm saying? I don't have a problem with a gay person or nothing, but the fact of it was, I didn't make this. I didn't ask anybody to make this. If you want to go after all day, because he's the one that was posting it on Twitter because somebody gave it to him that was a PlayStation fan that didn't like me. And so I'm trolling it. That's all that is. But I'll get back to the roots and show my old picture or something new here at the beginning of the week. I just want to troll back, say, hey, look, hey, I see your work. It's not that great, but hey, I'll take it.
Dude,
you know
I feel that was.
I see my boy Locke.
That was a brilliant move. What you did, man. And that's one thing I gotta say when it comes to, because dude, you have gotten for being so new, like to BGST and stuff like that, you knew that people were gonna come at you, man.
Oh yeah.
You handle just about every situation perfectly, man. I am like, I don't want to say like, I don't know. I know I didn't discover you or anything like that, but you know we've talked for quite a long time before the BGST.
The Wii Game Here days.
Yeah, and to see you handle every situation the way you do, dude, I gotta say, man, it puts a smile on my face. It's like, damn, that's the way you do it, man.
Yeah. Just it cracks me up, like, for people to take their time to make videos about me, to talk about me, like, so somebody thinks about me across the world or across the states. So what? I don't know you. You don't know me. It's just I'm just giving out my opinion.
It's all fun. Fuck it.
But I'm getting off of that. You know what I'm saying? It's all love. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to just keep it gaming. But the variety thing that you were talking about, I'm looking at this right now, and I know that the big thing is like, who cares and who needs backwards compatible games and things like that. Look, I'm just going through a list of some of the games that I have, plus the games like they brought back Phantom Dust. I'm looking at Red Dead Redemption. You guys wouldn't think that you wouldn't want to play Red Dead Redemption on your PlayStation 4. When you're looking at the Mass Effects, you go through, and the Last Odyssey, and exclusives that were on the 360 that weren't on the PlayStation. But I believe Left 4 Dead was exclusive to Xbox, was it not?
On
360.
Man, you're making me go back and think about that. Like, I wasn't a big Left 4 Dead fan, so.
Left 4 Dead, right?
That question is a yes. I
don't
really know on that one.
Yeah. We'll just go with yes. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. But then, you're going there playing Killer is Dead. You look at other games. You look at Far Cry 3. Dragon Age Origin. Devil May Cry 4. Then you have the newer games. You have Dead Rising. You have Dead Rising 3 or 4, but they say that's trash. You go back and play Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Who wouldn't want on the PlayStation wouldn't go and want to play Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 1? Or even go back and play Battlefield Bad Company and Battlefield 3. I mean, look, it's so many, you can add so much to there's so much variety, even if they're older games or if they're newer games. You know what I'm saying? And why would you shit on that? Why would you hate on that? You would want PlayStation to add those great titles to their system. Hopefully that the PlayStation 5 will will go further back and go to the PlayStation 2 era. If you know what I'm saying, that would be fantastic.
Always see what happened with, for anybody who's hoping for backwards compatibility when it comes to PlayStation. PlayStation took a leap forward in where both these companies want to go for the future. Like, they really they bought Gaikai, and they really went in for a streaming service. So I'm just looking at things logically here. Since they put out like PS Now, you know they're not gonna just abandon that, because that's where they want to go for the future. They want to cut manufacturing costs. They want to cut R&D and really just make money off the services and stuff like that.
Wait! You're saying Sony's trying to put Mark Cerny out of a job? Is that what you're trying to say?
I think there'll always be a spot for Mark Cerny at PlayStation. But anyway, so they took a leap where Microsoft took a baby step. You see what I'm saying? Because Microsoft realizes that, you know, that infrastructure is not quite there yet, but they came out with Game Pass, right? But with PlayStation Now, they kind of went all in with that. So for anybody who is hoping for PS5 having backwards compatibility when it comes out in like 2020, I hate to tell you guys, man, business-wise, that shit's not going to happen. And I'm going out on that limb and saying that just because I'm looking at things from a logical business standpoint. This is where they want to go. They put their eggs in that basket. Now they're not going to take the eggs out and try to put it back in the refrigerator. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me ask you this. They spent ridiculous amounts of money on cell technology, and they abandoned that, right?
Yeah, but that's... Yeah,
so, but here's the thing. The PlayStation Now service hasn't been working the best. It hasn't been the best experience. And this is not me hating on PlayStation Now. I'd much rather have a local piece of hardware ever play. The problem with that type of input, there's definitely going to be a market for that. I think there's going to be a group of people that doesn't want to buy hardware, but there's always going to be a group of people that does want to buy hardware that will subsidize that cost. So the two brands are in a different place, right? Because Microsoft makes money on when hardware is in development because they make the software that makes that hardware run, right? So they will always have one toe in hardware development because of that. Because they make just as much money off their cloud service as much as that. They're not going to cut that off. Sony, on the other hand, it's a different experience because they're not making bucks on the side for that sort of thing, right? So cutting that additional cost is a much different situation. But I just don't know if they ever will be in the infrastructure place where it will make it even really financially viable, because you have to own your servers. And that's the problem, right? They may have the technology right on their end to maybe make it work, but they're not willing to spend the money necessary to make it work because they're constantly renting, and they don't have the creative control over that server base, because they are renting. So that's one of the issues with PlayStation Now. I think they'll never be able to get there, and I think there's also the issue of just regardless of how quicker things will get via internet, and they will get quicker, you will always have inherent latency, and there's a certain segment of gamers that just simply won't put up with that at the end of the day. So I think cloud computing is very much a part of it, and I don't think Microsoft took a baby step. I think they took a major leap towards that direction.
Well, I was talking about Game Pass with with the ability to download the game. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at the feature that is similar to the feature.
Well, another thing that you got to give props to Microsoft for is to open their doors to EA Access, because that's where Xbox, I think, got the idea from EA Access, and PlayStation again should have opened the doors to EA to maybe they might would have had a service just like this. And I know they jumped all into the PlayStation Now, but it's still, as impatient as a lot of gamers are these days, to jump in and you want to play your game right then and there, and then you're paying for this service basically. You know what I'm saying? And then you can't play it all the time because the streaming's not working right, or it's just too much lag, things like that. That's what's the main problem with the PlayStation Now. Now I have no idea how PS Now works on the PC. I was thinking about getting it, but then I was like, oh, the games that I'm looking for that I wanted on the PlayStation 4 is coming on the PC, and then I got a PlayStation 4 now, so it really doesn't matter now. But it's just one of these things where I think people are just too impatient. They want things right here and now, and then they want all this innovation, but again, they just don't want to wait. You just got to wait for it. And to make these excuses about Xbox having no games, or tired of Halo, Gears, Forza, I mean, you better start looking on the other side, because I mean, Nintendo, how long has Nintendo been living off of Mario and Zelda?
Well, it's not even that.
And Donkey Kong.
We have a big exclusive library over here. If you want, if you're new to the X, let's say you don't even want to buy Game Pass, you want to own your damn games, right? You're new to the Xbox family. There is a huge library of first party games that you only play on that piece of hardware.
Right.
That's I think what Phil is really pushing, because yes, don't get me wrong, Microsoft wants to sell their games, and bigger sales early on the better, right? Covers your cost, and you can start developing new stuff, right? But at the end of the day, they also know building that library that Microsoft is, or Xbox is known for, is essential as well. They got the games. I mean, they should start doing like an Arby's commercial, like type thing. We got the peas, and then like we got the games, and like just keep it simple like that, because they do have them. They're there. If people want to play them. Now, that might not be for everybody, and then maybe that's the reason why someone bought a PlayStation,
right?
And that's fine. But misinformation, it's getting so out of hand. It's not healthy for gaming in general. It really isn't. It's maybe healthy. It's not even healthy for stroking someone's ego. Like it's not helpful in any sort of way.
Either way, yeah. Like, I mean, how can you look over Ori and the Blind Forest? How could you look over? I mean, you want a compelling single player game? Rise is that game, man. That story is epic. Epic. It's not a very long game. I think it's I think I beat it in like 8-9 hours, something like that.
But that's what you expect for a campaign, though, right?
Right. Yeah, and it has a
campaign story-driven game. I mean, what is an Uncharted game?
Yeah.
How long is an Uncharted game? Like, seriously, like same window, right?
Unless you plan on crushing, then it's going to take you a while. It's going to take you maybe about close to 20 hours, maybe. But all these games, like when I beat Ratchet and Clank, good game. It was a really good game. You know what I'm saying? And I beat that in like 8 hours. So, you know what I'm saying? But then again, the experience is over with single player games. That's why I like Xbox, and I think that I've changed my whole outlook on gaming now, because now playing more online games, it makes my dollar. It seems like it makes my dollar last longer.
But
you see what I'm saying? Here's
the thing that story-based games do, and I'm going to use Rise as an example, because that's, I think, one we all agree on that we really enjoyed, right? The lasting impression of that game, you will always think of that game in the best of light, right? As that game finally starts showing its age, which will take a while, right? And you're just going to remember that story and how good it was, and you recognize that and associate that with Xbox, right? And so that's where the power of story-driven games actually have. Now, engaging in your customers longer and having multiplayer, I get that. I get the value that's there. There's a good understanding, but there's also the problem with those experiences sometimes too is you have a lot of hours in the game, and sometimes you have some bad hours, right? With a story-driven game, you can control, say, that 8 or 9 hour campaign and make it the best 8 or 9 hours that someone's played on a game, in their life, right? And that's over exaggeration, but you kind of get where I'm kind of coming from, right?
Right.
So, like, story-driven games do have a huge purpose and have a huge impact on gaming, and I think it's understated. I don't think people realize that. But they are essentially truly important. And if it wasn't truly important, and circle back to Crackdown, they would have had the same writer that have worked on other popular franchises work on the story for the Crackdown campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's all right there in front of you, and I'm glad you went full circle, like back to Crackdown, because this is just like a party, an Xbox Live party with us three in it, man. We'll start talking about one thing, and then we'll go all around the world and come back around.
That's usually how it goes, yeah. No, go ahead.
With Crackdown, I mean, you got a quality story writer on the thing, and like I said, just so much extra added features to it. That for some reason or another, gaming media, people on social media, they're just not talking about all that other stuff, and you just hear that kind of big, oh, it's just Crackdown 1. Yo, guys, before we do end up ending the show, I don't know when we're gonna do that. It is midnight right now.
Real soon because I gotta be at 4:30 in the morning.
All
Y'all,
I'm gonna go mountain biking, and it's dark out here. So
what'd
you say?
I'm going mountain biking after this, believe it or not.
I want to announce something, and I want to kind of like extend my hand out here.
You're pregnant.
Damn, man.
Go ahead.
You done ruined it. Nah. Here's the deal. For people who are interested in Crackdown, and if you have the ability to share content, whether it's Mixer, so if you have an Xbox One, you can stream the game and stuff like that. I propose something. Yo, guys, join me at the launch of Crackdown, and let's have a Crackdown 3 week, where every day we put out a little something. We put out a little content, whether it's a live stream, whether it's a video. Let's try to basically get the ball rolling on the stuff we like about this game. I don't want to see this game fall to the wayside for some stupid reason. The way kind of like Quantum Break did, or the way that these stupid reasons kind of affected Sunset Overdrive and stuff like that. So guys, I think that we should come together as a gaming community and put that content out there and show what this game is all about. And I'm going to continue to talk about this until the launch of Crackdown. This is the first night I am ever saying this. So guys, I want to extend out to the content creators out there, the live streamers, the YouTubers, you know, people who make videos and stuff. Guys, when it comes to the launch of this game, please join me, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of other people. And let's have a Crackdown 3 launch week where we get the game day one and we show everybody what this game is actually about. What do you guys think?
I'm definitely excited about it.
Anyways, so it doesn't matter.
Right, I'm getting
Crackdown. So I mean,
I'll get Crackdown 3 day one regardless. You know what I'm saying? All day is in here in the chat talking about how the game was light. It didn't have any substance. It seemed very weak. But again, I didn't know Crackdown 3 already came out. I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? So
that's crazy,
man.
Man.
If all day's trolling or he's telling the truth, I mean, that's his opinion. That's fine, but it's not a factual thing, right? It's his take on the game.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, and he's titled to his take on the game because that's his $60, right? Like I'm a developer, and I've always said this: the developer or the publisher, they got to earn your dollar, right? Mm-hmm. And if they haven't earned your dollar, then hold off. And if it's just too high of a price tag, hold off, buy new, and feedback into the industry when the price is right. You know, if All Day wants to take that stance and we're all playing Crackdown and he wants to sit there and be pouty in his corner, he's entitled to that as a gamer.
I mean, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
As a gamer, he's totally entitled to that.
He is. And hold on, this I must have tugged at his heartstrings for a second because when I said that, he comes talking about Destiny. He put 400 hours in Destiny, and just let me just explain this to you, bro. That's fine. I'm not that big into Destiny, and a lot of people that are playing the demo are not feeling Destiny either. So that's something that you're going to have to get adjusted to, because it's kind of like we're in the same position. Like I'm excited for Crackdown. Bot's excited for Crackdown. So is the Don. You know what I'm saying? And there's other people out there that's excited for Crackdown. And as you and Fonzarelli and Mooch are excited for Destiny, we're not. So I mean, just deal with it, homie. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Don, do you have any last words before we get out of here, man?
You know what? Not really. I'm just the dev and the gamer's back. Is that fair to say now?
It is back. It is back.
Yeah, and I guess we have a little bit of an open door if we want to have guests.
Oh yeah,
the game of the Dever.
Yes.
Might as well say that now. I mean, Bot obviously can always come back. You always have an open door.
Mm-hmm.
Me and KMega wouldn't be here without Bot. I think we both fully recognize that in its full entirety.
Nah, you got man. Don't. You're overdoing my kind of like.
Hey, listen here, you overdo our intros.
You guys are talented as shit, man. You guys would have been where you're at, and to see in the future where you're going, you guys would have been there. Whatever. I'm just happy to be. With
Man,
you guys
next podcast. It basically the birth of next podcast birthed the GRG podcast. You know what I'm saying? And then that's how I look at it. And then for what we've done with the next podcast is put us on Crossfire, put us on Xbox Nation, and on BGST. So I mean, it's just it's the growth of us working together and being a part of this gaming community, huh?
My recognition in the development community, it was birth of basically the next podcast. Like, you know what I mean? All the people and relationships I have built up and the opportunity to go to GDC and do all that sort of stuff. That's because of Next, right? Like that's what started all that. And so, always give credit where credit's due. Keep it humble if you want to. I
appreciate
it. And I also got to be, what I'm saying? And also I really got to give a big, huge shout out to Intro Media Gaming, because if it wasn't for Infrared Beam, I miss you, bro. I cannot wait for you to get back on your feet so you can come back. You know what I'm saying? Then I wouldn't have met 100, and 100 wouldn't have got me get back to coming to YouTube, because I did YouTube for like 3 months and then had the most craziest shit happen all at one time, and I said I'm done with it. You know what I'm saying? And it had nothing to do with anybody trolling or nothing. It was just life crazy stuff. A lot of death, a lot of crazy stuff happened all at one time. And then I left, and then 100 and them talked me back into getting back into YouTube. And I was gone for like over a year. So, and then if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have got with We Game Here, and then I wouldn't have met Bot. And then, I got with We Game Here, and then I got with Intro Media Gaming after We Game Here exploded. So just went fucking chaotic, and then it was gone. But there's always something that leads to something, and this is still growing. We still got a long way to go, man. But as far as we've done it, man, it's been one hell of a joyride, man.
Nice.
Thank you guys, for real. So all that mushy shit, we got to let that go. So anyway, I'll take my ass to bed again. Hey, Bot, where can they find you at?
Well, for people who are on my stream right now, exactly right here. I am on my kind of like mission to 3,500 subs. Like I said, I'm over 2,600 right now. The support and everything from the gaming community has been absolutely outstanding. So guys, if you like my channel, you like my videos, you like my content, man, why don't you tell a friend to come stop by my channel, and possibly they're gonna sub as well, and I could definitely hit my goal. But other than that, man, it's always a pleasure talking to KMega, the Don. Dude, this felt just like an Xbox Live party. I had a blast doing this tonight, man.
It did, no doubt. Okay, Don, where can they find you? And
two places, right? It's my Twitter handle is the Don _ KTR, which stands for Kiss the Ring. That's my Xbox Live gamer tag, minus the underscore, just a space. And then if you wanted to check out my YouTube channel, it's small time. I only post like a video like once a week, and I try to stay away from the more drama topics, if you know what I mean.
I always pull you right back in, Don.
Yes, you do. But I try to keep it from a developer standpoint, and mostly my artwork's starting to be posted up there. I think this week I'm gonna be posting a time lapse of one of my game characters that's going to be in my game. So that's going to be dropping sometime this week. But that channel is called Happy Little Polygons, and the video that actually spawned this whole conversation, well, it's actually on that channel. So if you want to go check out my take on Crackdown and cell shading, what is cell shading and all that sort of stuff, and what does a model look like before cell shading and after, it gives like a kind of like complete little demonstration of what's going on there, so you guys can kind of see it on the fly and what it's all about. So
nice. And I hear for your channel, man, that video is actually doing pretty well right now, dude, right?
Yeah.
It's doing, I mean, here's the thing. I'm always surprised this is like me not trying to be humble. Like I'm always shocked that more than 5 people actually watch anything I post. Like in my mind, it kind of blows me away that that's the case. And if I match what I get, you know, far as subs go, like then I'm just like ecstatic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's I normally have around like I think 50 subs on my channel, the true fans of the Dawn there, and it's like the video's over 200, and that's a crazy accomplishment for such a small little channel, in my mind at least. So
Awesome, man. Right. Awesome. That is really great.
That is great, and just keep plugging away, because trust me, man, I was at like 190 some subs for like about 5 months, and all of a sudden it just went boom. It just got crazy. Then it stopped again, and then it went boom, and then it went crazy. And then it stopped again, and then it went crazy. And now, you know, I'm on the quest to get to 1,500. I'm about 100 and something away. You know what I'm saying, on the quest to get to 2,000. So, you know what I'm saying, go ahead.
Numbers are weird, because like for me, like it's not the driving thing for me, right? I'd rather just get to the audience that wants to get my content, right? Mm-hmm. I care more about that than the sheer number. As far as that goes, I want the true fans of what I'm doing watching my channel, because that's who I make it for, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, you know, I've never really promoted my channel a whole lot, so they have 65 people. I know those 65 people really want to watch that, and then to over triple what my subs are, that's crazy to me. So that means, you know, obviously there's more people want to hear what I have to say, and that's awesome. And I want the people that actually want to hear what I have to say to come there, because that's who I make it for. So
nice, man.
Yeah. Well, that's what. Damn, Cypher Man's being evil over here. He says, "Let me unsub from KMega, make it harder for him." Damn, you know what I'm saying? That's all right, man. Yeah. Again, you can catch me over there on bot stream. You can catch me and here on my channel, KMega 405. You know, where we do the GRG podcast, where we have the most petty all day. We have Delilah HD. We have Lady Infamous. We have Livewire, the Dolphin Man himself, and then when Fonzarelli can come on and grace us with his radio voice, he comes over there. And then, of course, Xbot, if Snaps let him get free, and then Don, if he stops saving wildlife, he can get on. You know what I'm saying? And then we just have special guests, and then I'll do the next podcast, and BGST, multiplayer, all that other stuff. So, yeah, just go ahead and check us out. Sub us, man. Thank you guys for supporting us and hanging out with us tonight, man. We about to head on out of here. I got to take my ass to bed. So, peace, everyone. Have a good night.
Peace.
So, I think we need to start a campaign.